In today's video, we're going to take you through the ultimate podcasting setup for 2020 right after this. Hey everyone, this is Stevie Richards, and yes, today we are going to take you through an entire podcast setup. You can see here we have all the products that we're going to go through, as well as comparing it to other things that I've used in my podcasting setup up until this video. You can see right here, the centerpiece of this is the Rodecaster Pro, and I've had this for probably about 18 months now. And when I did the opening for this video, and any opening having to do with podcasting and this particular console, I always pause and want to say podcasting/radio, because this essentially is something I've always dreamed of, a radio station style console, and the Rodecaster Pro definitely delivers that. So we're going to give you my updated thoughts, the updated firmware, all the improvements that they did listen to you and did make those improvements. One was something I didn't know that it was missing mix minus with Skype. That was a problem. There was an echo. They quickly fixed that, and in updated firmware after firmware after firmware, they really did improve this to be almost a perfect radio station podcasting console. I got to start saying podcasting/radio console, because that's exactly what this is, and I'm really happy that Jason from Rode decided to send me out more products, because there's a few things here I wanted to try, especially the Podmic, because I have a Shure SM7B. I've been really quite satisfied with it, but at a $400 price tag, I was always curious to see, because I've seen a lot of comparisons between the Podmics to the SM7B, and also the fact that the Podmic may have a little bit of a brighter sound to it than the Shure SM7B, which some people have accused me of sounding a little bit dark and muddy, and a little bit just too flat for my voice, which is just normally kind of quiet and kind of dark and kind of a deep style raspy voice. It's a very unique voice that I've always been curious how each and every mic can make it sound. So the Podmic is something I'm definitely interested in reviewing. And also we have the accessory pack right here. This is really a good thing. One thing is especially going to be interesting to try, because it can enable you to use a power bank. So if you have a power bank that's powerful enough to power and keep the Rodecaster Pro running, I have a couple of those I think will work. This is definitely something that's really good. XLR IDs are really good if you have multiple people that are always on certain mics on certain inputs. And also we have the cable, so you can run your device wired. I usually use Bluetooth on the Rodecaster Pro, but now this is a TRRS to TRRS. I always put an extra R or leave an R out, but this will enable me to get a more high quality connection. I don't think the Bluetooth is bad at all, but if you can go wired, you can do that. And also, like I've said in the past, on the Rodecaster Pro, there's a wired input and also a Bluetooth one. So essentially I can have two different callers, one wired on one device and then one over Bluetooth on another device. So it's pretty cool that you can technically have one caller on hold as you got the other one that you're talking to, if you're running that radio station style show. Like Vince Russo has Full Moon Attitude. He takes phone calls on the Rodecaster Pro, and now he can essentially have one on hold being screened maybe by a co-host as they're waiting to get on the show. Just really, really cool stuff. Let's go over here before I talk about more scenarios, how you can use the Rodecaster Pro as a radio station console. The scissor arm is very important. It's something with Vince Russo had the Blue Yeti one, which you really couldn't move it around. So you had it from the top down, which he was kind of reaching up trying to get to the microphone. This is where a scissor arm really comes into use and into benefit for your show. You don't want to be in pain just lifting your neck up, especially me with my neck injuries and surgeries. But they sent out a PSA 1. This is a standard bearer of mic scissor arms from Rode. I have a more expensive one from OC White Company, which is about $400. That's more of the standard radio station scissor arm. But this one here, many podcasters, many radio people use this. Also, I've seen people kind of do a DIY overhead camera using the Rode PSA-1. So that's something I might actually look into, because the overhead shots, as mosquitoes bite me, the overhead shots I have a great deal of trouble with on the Rodecaster Pro. So that might be something I try to do in this video, but probably not. Stick to that. So we're going to try to scissor arm out with the Podmics, with one of the Podmics. The other thing I'm going to do is compare the Podmic to the SM7B. I'm going to go through all the features again of the Rodecaster Pro. For this particular one, I'm updating to the current firmware, but I won't be going through each and every feature. There's actually a YouTuber up here that I really watch a lot of his videos. He does a great job explaining the Rodecaster Pro, podcasting in general. He has the overhead camera rank, which I'm looking at getting instead of doing this. The Enthusiasm Project, he has a great channel, and I'll link that in the description below. Check out his stuff. He really goes over some great features and use cases for the Rodecaster Pro. So I will stop talking. I will start unboxing, take all this stuff out, and we will get to the cool stuff of, oh, by the way, I'm using a lav mic, so I may switch in and out from the lav mic to the Rodecaster Pro, recording to the micro SD card on the Rodecaster Pro, so you can get an idea how everything sounds from lav mic, maybe even a shotgun mic, and definitely the mics that are connected to the console. So before we start all the audio tests, we want to set up the Rodecaster Pro. You can see all the levels are all the way down, and I haven't done anything except tested it by starting it up and then seeing what version was on the console. Right here we have input 1, 2, 3, and 4. The Podmic is connected to input 1, and also we plugged in a micro SD card. We are going to record external audio via the Rodecaster Pro, no matter what mic we're using for the comparison. That way we can compare each microphone on each input. We'll mute one, turn the other on, or one of the other two, and go back and forth. As it stands right now, we're using the lavalier microphone, which is a Saramonic Blink 500. And of course, we are going to set up the microphone, the Podmic, which is just off camera, right here on input 1. And from there we go to microphone. Now the interesting thing here is that I do have a Podmic, so there's a setting for the Podmic, which is by default on that. I can switch to a Procaster, Broadcaster, NT1, and in the case of Vince Russo, he has an Electro Voice RE20, so he just used the setting there. But we're going to go back to Podmic, come back here, and we have our levels right there. And you can see we have some levels already. I can turn this up to there. One thing they did, I think they did it, they made the Unity, which is 5 down, I believe, from the top, a little bit thicker. So this version of the Rodecaster Pro has a few little tweaks to it from the one I got in the very beginning when it was released. The packaging is different. It looks like some of the markings here might be a little thicker, like on Unity, which is basically 0 decibel gain. Also, we got more cards here. So we got the cards we got with the initial release of the Rodecaster Pro, but then we got these right here. These are more of a cardboard, and you can put those right in there. We got 3 of those, so I think you could still write on those, right here and here. I could write what the sound clip is, so that's actually a nice update from having this off to the side. Now it fills in as an official thing. I can look and see what the actual sound clip is, and I think I can wipe it off. It feels like it's a kind of like a dry erase type marker you can write on there and then replace it. I actually like that upgrade with that, because now I have 3 different shows. I can just pick this and then pick the grouping of the sound, you know, the audio clips and everything, and throw them right there and see what they are, you know, what they're there for. Because after you have 8 right here, you might forget where what is. So that's kind of cool right there. We have this set up here. We can go back to the main screen. We have the levels right there where it is working, and also go back into here. We have the voice for the tone. I usually keep everything pretty default. Oh, very important thing is the audio processing. So I will probably shut off the aural exciter. Maybe not. Usually I just leave ducking off and all the other processing by default. You can now granularly adjust that with the 2.1 firmware. I'm not going to do that. I want plug and play. I want to be ready to go. So let's bring the microphones out and let's give it a shot and see how the Podmic stacks up against the SM7B and even the Lewitt LCT 440 Pure. So here we have the Rode Podmic connected to the Rode PSA-1 mic scissor arm. And I have to say, I've never used this mic scissor arm, but comparing it to the past Amazon knockoffs that I've gotten for anywhere from $11 all the way up to $50, the quality is definitely, you can tell the difference. So I'm not using those mic scissor arms anymore. So that kind of speaks on the lack of quality, or the kind of saying you get what you pay for. You definitely get what you pay for with the Rode PSA-1. This is definitely a solid choice as a mic scissor arm. And Vince Russo also has the PSA-1 that replaced the Blue Compass one he used with his Blue Yeti. This one here has more functionality. And for Russo, he was using the Blue Compass one, and that was stuck up here when he was using his microphone. So you have to keep reaching up like that. This one gives you more places to put the microphone where you want it. So definitely a great investment for that if you plan. And I assume if you're buying a Rodecaster Pro or any other audio interface, you're using an XLR microphone like the Podmic or even the Shure SM7B, that you're going to want to invest in a good mic scissor arm, that you're not just doing 5 to 10 podcast episodes and then you're done with your content creation. Today, I cannot pronounce any words, so that might be a theme as well. I have a face for radio, maybe I have a voice for not radio, who knows. So with the Podmic, I have to say I'm working the microphone a little bit more than I have to with this. I've used this a couple times, and I'm trying to figure out the sweet spot of where I should be. Too close might have too much plosives, too much breath, and the proximity effect, which is not such a bad thing. But the breaths and the plosives, I can hear a little bit through my headphones. But in an initial kind of dry run test, I didn't hear it on the finished audio that's being recorded to the micro SD card right now on the Rodecaster Pro. So, like I said, I can hear more, but it didn't seem to come through so bad. And then the 2 podcasts that I've used it for this week, it sounded really good. So let's mute this and go to the Shure SM7B. Just a reminder as we go over to here. All right, this is the Shure SM7B. And just a reminder, and I should have kept it muted as I was handling the mic stand, there's no cloud lifter attached to either one of these. This is straight up from the Rodecaster Pro. Dynamic microphones like the Shure SM7B, the Electro Voice RE20, even the Podmic or other dynamic microphones, people suggest using a cloud lifter or fed head. They're also known as mic activators. I don't have that. The Rodecaster Pro seems to be able to handle these gain hungry dynamic microphones. Hell, I never would have guessed that would have been a tongue twister, but it is. But it handles it very well. The level on both of these is 40. This is set to the Podmic setting, which it has its dedicated setting. This is set to the dynamic setting on the Rodecaster Pro. So it sounds pretty good. The levels are good right here, about the same as the Podmic. Let's switch back. So now we are on the Podmic, and it sounds like it has more register, more high end than the SM7B. I'm only saying that because Ben told me that's what it sounds like, and there's not as much low end. Now, like I said before, the SM7B, in some people's opinion, and sometimes in mine as well, makes me sound too dark. I have a very deep, raspy voice, so the SM7B tends to make me sound a little muddier, but it's also flat, so it's just a flat, natural sound. This one here is a little bit brighter from Ben Hameen's opinion. I can hear a little bit more brightness and clarity in the Podmic, so it's all up to what you think your voice would sound good on. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think, because I'm very interested. We don't quite always like the sound of our voice, nor do we ever kind of interpret it correctly. Also, since my throat surgery and vocal cord surgery, this is not the original voice I had up until 1998. And then again in 2005, I got another implant in my vocal cord. So to me, it's weird that my voice currently never sounds like I had to live with up until 1998. And then again in 2005, very weird stuff, but very unique characteristics to my voice that I've gained over the years, or lost some of the other original features of my voice. And it just never, when I'm hearing it, is like, it doesn't really sound like me. It's just weird. Let's go back to the SM7B. So we are back on the SM7B. The other microphone that I was talking about was the Lewitt LCT 440 Pure. That is a condenser microphone. My wife sounds incredible on that with her podcast, the Career Junkie podcast. I sound okay on it, but that is definitely a microphone that suits her. Obviously, with the condenser microphone, you're going to hear a little bit more room noise. The Rodecaster Pro kind of takes care of that with the processing, but I have used that in an outdoor situation, and the noise gate would kick on when I wasn't talking or when my guest wasn't talking. And then when they talked, there was birds in the background and stuff, and you would hear all that. And then when it cut everything off, it was kind of jarring. But now the console has those granular, there we go. What am I picking all these words for in this video? It has the way to fine tune. That's a better way of saying it. Fine tune all the processing, including the noise gate, the de-esser, the compressor, other things, and the 2.1 firmware update is a great update for all that stuff. So really, really cool stuff. Not to mention the Rodecaster companion app, where you can put all your sound pads, fill them up, as well as record stuff directly from the console onto the sound pad. Really cool stuff. So let's go back to the Rode Podmic one more time. Then we're going to have a little bonus test, because right now we are recording to the micro SD card. But what I want to do, since this is termed the ultimate podcast setup for 2020, you could use the Rodecaster Pro and just record to the micro SD card and have an audio file, not have video, or even if you wanted to take the next step and sync up this audio to this video on the Sony a6500, there's one more thing you can do. And that is use an app like Switcher Studio, like I usually do, connecting the Rodecaster Pro to the iPad Pro. And then I won't need to B-roll stuff in post. I can use all that stuff as I go. I got to pre-produce it in a way where I have clips and stuff like that. Like I talked about my wife's podcast, I can bring that up. I have multi-view. I have a bunch of different cool stuff. And just as a little added bonus, I just want to show you that. But first, you know what? Before I do that, one of the other things I got was this TRRS cable that I can plug in and wired to the Rodecaster Pro. So I have a Bluetooth input, but I also now have a wired input. So I can play any video that I want off of this, and it'll come through with a little bit better video quality than the Bluetooth aspect of that. So if I turn around and I go right here,
they'll eat anything doesn't mean
you can hear an ad. Of course, there's an ad there, but there's different stuff that I can play if I have to play an audio clip off of this. If I don't have access to record with the sound pad, that is pretty cool right there. So even Dave Ramsey, let me fast forward here.
And I am kind of scared because I want
That's like Inception. That's like a call of a call. Now,
when it comes to my phone, I just...
Dave's talking.
And have that counselor give you some verbiage to
can also
entice
turn up
your
the volume
new
here.
husband into the marriage counselor's office. Because if you don't, one of two things is...
I've noticed the Bluetooth, it isn't much worse, but the wired version of, playing sounds through the smartphone or phone calls through the smartphone is definitely a lot better. Obviously, the sound pads are going to be the best because they're pre-recorded. You can process them, you can edit them. But to be able on a pinch, to be able to use this, and then obviously if I wanted to have a dedicated wired one like this for a phone call, and then Bluetooth for a backup call that a person's on hold, like Russo does with Full Moon Attitude, he has callers call into his show, he can have one he's talking to and then one dedicated on hold on another device. You need two devices, but most households have at least two iPhones or two phones. You have that option to do that. It's a radio console. That's all it is. It's really, really cool. So let's do the little bonus thing. We're going to switch the cameras because Switcher Studio uses iOS devices like the iPad Pro for a switcher and the iPhone 11, which I'll be using as the main camera right here. Let's do that right now. So we are connected now to Switcher Studio. We are no longer using the Sony a6500 as the camera. We're using an iPhone 11 as the main camera. We're using the iPad Pro as the switcher. And we're using the Rodecaster Pro as our audio interface. So everything that you hear through the Podmic, it's connected through a USB-C hub. So there's enough bandwidth to really be able to power the audio bandwidth, and it sounds really good. I mean, dare I say it, it sounds just as good as recording to the micro SD card. The benefit of this is more video than audio with Switcher Studio. So for example, if I wanted to just bring up broadcast will begin shortly, all these simple things that I can cross dissolve. And just for a little bit of a note here, I have a monitor right here that I'm actually viewing on full screen. So it gives me a clean feed. I have all these different videos, pictures, all these different sources, but I also can view in real time the full thing. So like I did a watch along from Wildcat Sports, myself in a Wildcat heavyweight title match, and I was able to voice that over or commentate on it as it was happening. I was watching it in full screen right here rather than even a little screen on the iPad Pro. So that made it really good. And I was able to do that with multi-view. So for example, I could pick the multi-view and I could pick myself as the B input. Here's the A. And it has a nice little transition that I can talk about StevieRichardsFitness.com, the 12 and 16 week resistance band training programs. I'm seeing this up on the monitor right now, and I can commentate on that as that's happening. So nice little transitions, and I can solo out of that. And you can see how nice it is. I can really fine tune all that stuff. The size of my picture-in-picture, if I want a black outline, blue outline, white outline, whatever it might be. These lower thirds come in handy too. Talking about search for Stevie Richards on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram. Those are two different sizes, so it's kind of all over the place. But there's all these built-in things that if you're going to do a video podcast, since this is the ultimate podcast setup, and I'm using a Rodecaster Pro, I can incorporate a ton of audio, a ton of guests, whether it be right here connected to the microphone or the video chat app with Switcher Studio. I can also take another iOS device, up to 9 of them, by the way, so I can have a bunch of different camera angles, all this stuff. And when it's done, it's ready to go. So all the edits that I've made, everything I include on it is going to be on the finished video. So like I said, I'm going to put some B-roll in on the earlier portions where I was recording with the Sony a6500, syncing up the audio from the Rodecaster Pro to the camera, and then editing in Final Cut Pro 10. The thing that's cool about this is I don't need to do any of that stuff. So even like multi-view, like I said, if I want to do a multi-view here, have this, there's all different sizes. And I can talk about my wife's podcast, the Career Junkie podcast. Now, if I wanted to solo out of that and go to a different one, I could even do this. We experimented with this for watch-alongs, which could be really, really cool to be able to do. So I can pick one multi-view here. I'll be in the A category right there. And then it can just be, I'll just pick a bunch of stuff here. I can pick the picture here, and then the video. Now we have 4 different things going on at once, and I can watch the video, and we have some graphics. This could be great for, 4 people on a podcast. So that's why I'm saying the ultimate podcasting setup. You have 3 people in Switcher Studio, like we were doing yesterday, all watching this match, and you can hear all the audio. Now, there was some audio echo and delay. I think that's with the 5.0 updates. There's a little bit of issues. We're looking into that. But the fact that I can watch this And we have some other stuff that we can put in here, and I can solo anything I want out of this. So I hit that and I solo out nice transitions. The other thing is I can share the screen on this, I believe. It's my first time trying this, actually. Okay, so now we have the display on the iPad is now right there. So if I wanted to actually do some sort of, no, that doesn't work. There you go. If I want to do some sort of app tutorial or something like that, I can do that. So I can hit multi-view on this, and this is what makes it super cool. So if I wanted to go right there and have the iPad be A and me be B, I could go down there and I can start talking about, say, iMovie for the iPad, which just crashed on me again. Hey, it's more stable. Congratulations. Let's see if we can bring up podcasts right here. See if I can turn that. No, seems to be one orientation, but I can talk about all this stuff and do that. And it's just a nice little way to do that. I can also share this as a camera if I choose to do so. That's a very nice thing to have. Put that down right there. So you can really just, up your production value. If you're just doing audio, like I said, the Rodecaster Pro, Rode Podmic, the PSA-1, Shure SM7B. This is a Rode specific one because they do offer a lot of solutions. The other thing I really like is the portable USB power that I can plug into a power bank. That way I can take all this stuff, put it in a nice Pelican case, 2 of these mics, and I'm off. And I'm ready to podcast anywhere, and I don't have to be near a plug. So if I want to do it at Lake Blue Ridge, if I wanted to do it in the woods, if I wanted to do it on the beach, it doesn't matter. I can podcast anywhere I want. Very, very impressed with this. Like I said, this video aspect with Switcher Studio kind of gives a little bit of a bonus of the ultimate podcast setup for 2020. But you can just as easily sync the audio to video. If you want to do that for free, you can do it in DaVinci Resolve. If you have Final Cut Pro 10 or Premiere Pro, or you're on the Mac side or the Windows side, whatever. We want just another video for another time, but you're able to do that. You're able to, I'm an Apple fanboy. I'm sorry. But I'm also at this point a Rode fanboy too, because this is really a nice setup, gives you a quality broadcast, gives you radio quality, radio features. You essentially have your own radio station. I'm super impressed with it. So just so you know, this particular video, it's going up here on the YouTube channel for Stevie Richards, but it's also going to go up on Vince Russo, the brand. We've been working together. Obviously, we do the Raw and SmackDown review, myself, Ben Hameen, and of course, Vince Russo. But Ben and I have been working on the YouTube channel, and the reason why Rode reached out to me with doing a collaboration was because I helped Vince set up his Rodecaster Pro, and he's doing amazing with Full Moon Attitude on his YouTube channel, where if you're watching this on Vince's YouTube channel, check out that show, check out Full Moon Attitude, all the videos that Ben, myself, and Vince are uploading here to his YouTube channel. And if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, well, let me back it up. If you're watching on Vince, please subscribe to mine too. But if you're watching on mine, subscribe to Vince Russo, the brand. That will be, the link will be in the description below. And thanks for watching here. We're 60,000, 300 or 400 subscribers at the time of this recording. Well over 60,000. Really appreciate all the support. Now watch this. Now it's a voiceover. Should have did that in the beginning. Let's try right here. Go to, one thing, you have to update the assets. So I'm going to remove that right there. Little blooper right in there. I was going to go to Force USA, hit the code Stevie5 or enter the code Stevie5 to save. Also diamondbackfitness.com. My wife and I did a voiceover to lead into videos like this, but then it would play over me. So got to put some new assets into this. So that is about it, guys. Like I said, we will probably be updating this video from time to time as well. And it's just cool stuff. Really good time to be alive, be a content creator, and have all these different things at your disposal. If you have any questions, by the way, you can always email me, StevieRichardsFitness@gmail.com. And that is about it. don't have to edit in the ending Stevie Rocky thing. I'm going to hit it right now. Thank you guys. God bless you. Have a great day.